Cantor Cattan, welcome. Welcome to Omer Grow. You're on day, I think, 42, 40, I'm in 41. Thank you for doing this. What we're going to be discussing today is our weekly theme, which is Yesod, which translates to in foundation. So pretty much I've been doing an exploration of my foundation all week, and I have found that foundation comes from parents and family, comes from in your workplace, comes from activities you like doing. So what are some of the foundations that and make you you?
That's an interesting question. I would say one of the three main components of my early foundations are family, of course, day school, Jewish day school, and the Tnuah Noar. What is a Tnuah Noar? It's a youth movement. But there is a difference between the youth movements that we know here, that are more like faith-based, than the youth movements in Europe and South America, that there are purely Zionist and more secular than religious. So I would say that these three things, the love for Israel, the love for the Hebrew language and culture, was a big foundation. Then the Hebrew day school, the Jewish day school, was a place where I grew up loving Israel. Our Hebrew teachers were Israelis. Our curriculum was half day, the secular curriculum in Spanish, and also we learned languages like English, French, Italian. And the second half of the day was Hebrew spoken curriculum, which was Hebrew language, Tanakh, Masoret, Bible and tradition and other and conversational Hebrew. So those two things really influence, together with the house and together with the family values and being second generation immigrants, right? My family from Turkey on my father's side, from my mother's side from Eastern Europe. So I think that there is a mix of values and cultural traditions that there are, and the musical aspect of it. I was really early involved in singing since I was 11 in the synagogue choir. We were all boys, and then in the school choir, and then again in the synagogue choir in a different role. And that led me to getting a little more involved in the religious aspect of my identity. So the foundation that was secular Zionist became a little bit more traditional religious on the conservative approach. I was a member of the, although my bar mitzvah was celebrated in the Sephardic synagogue, I was already singing in the conservative synagogue choir. And by 1984, actually, I already had led services together with my mentor and Cantor back then. And I was a kid, literally a kid. Like a Kehila kid. And I would say that was a very powerful influence in my upbringing. Then I went to Israel and spent a gap year in Israel, studied to improve my leadership skills in the Machon LeMadrichei Chul, the Youth Institute for Youth Leadership that is depending of the Jewish Agency for Israel, and came back and worked for another 2 years in the youth movement. And at the same time, I went back to the choir and didn't feel like I belonged anymore because I was looking for more meaning. And that's when I started my formal studies to be a Chazan, to be a cantor. And together, at the same time, I started studying my in college and my BA in social communication and advertising, which is, somehow related, but not totally related to that. And so those are my pillars. I would say I'm an unconditional for Israel. regardless political stance, I think that that's our homeland as a Jewish people, and it's something that I relate to it and to its culture deeply and dearly. And then the other part is the pluralistic approach to religious practice, right? In which I consider that Jewish tradition is deemed or is like, I would say that Jewish tradition has to keep evolving as history has proven through the centuries and millennia that that was the only way to survive as a civilization. You can approach Judaism as a civilization. You can approach Judaism as a religion. You can approach Judaism as an ethnic group, or all together, right? And it's part of it. So that's, I would say that those are my pillars in if you're talking about foundation. Also, I spent a few years working in the construction market as a marketing person. So if you're talking about foundations, we're talking about pillars, right? And those are my Jewish pillars, so to say.
For sure. So that's awesome. Do you think and your foundation kind of switched or kind of evolved or changed when you first moved to in the States?
I would say the foundation not, but it was obviously a need for adaptation. The culture is different. The unconditional stance that most of the diaspora outside the U.S. has for Israel is not such in the States, and I had to start to understand that. Well, wait a minute. So you're Jewish, but you don't care about Israel? How is that, right? And it took me a while to understand it and to accept it as an option, right? I mean, you don't have to be a Zionist, but on the other hand, I think that some of those things condition my view, or actually reinforced my love for Israel, because sometimes I feel that disconnection pains me deeply, right? And it's like, how is that brothers and sisters are so far apart and so disconnected from each other, right? So part of my mission, of my calling, I would say is connecting that and being promoting that knowledge of each other, not love of each other, at least know each other, right? We're not so far apart.
So as buildings are built on the foundation, and literally, what parts of your foundation kind of led you to in the rabbinate? Because now that you are newly, finished with in rabbinical school, and you've studied for years, and to be a cantor, and a chazan, an educator, what kind of led you specifically to that, and what do you want to build from those things? And exactly.
Yeah, I would say that first and foremost, that's something that it was always a part of what I thought I was interested. I'm pretty much interested in Jewish studies, and it was always part of my life. I pursued it a few times during my lifetime and didn't work. And then it was made possible because of the technology and because of the advance of studying techniques, and also the flexibility of the 21st century. And I would say that the way that I define my cantorate is that cantorate chose me. No, I didn't choose cantorate. I mean, is kind of the, I mean, I excuse me for the comparison. And it's like it doesn't mean to be I don't want to sound like I don't know, in the wrong way, but it's like the same that the prophets refused to be a prophet because they said, why me, why me, why me? That happened with me on the Cantor too. It's like, I mean, I had it, I was doing it, but I didn't want to do it really. I mean, I thought I didn't want to do it really. And one of the things that happened when we immigrated to the States is like, okay, I'm this. And then I realized that there is no end for the search for knowledge and identity and self-search. So there is two components there. One is the vocation for serving the Jewish people in inspirational, engaging, musical, inspirational way. And at the same time, a search for self-realization / self-improvement, and connecting those things are part of what I consider something that I actually recommend. I mean, never-ending study, never-ending search, never-ending questioning, never-ending. It's like that quest needs to be a lifelong activity. And if any student of mine or any student of Keila or whatever asks me, it's like, never stop studying, never stop searching, never stop questioning, never stop researching and being engaged in knowledge.
That's a perfect segue to my final question is what is your advice to someone who is thinking about taking, up in the next step up in their education, I would say, has built a very solid foundation to work on, and to kind of start like building from that foundation, and what would you say to encourage them to find more meaning and continue studying?
Let me start with a phrase that I heard once, and I think that it's applicable to what I think is the to everyone who wants to decide what the next step would be. If you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life. That means that if you're passionate about what you do, you will be realized, both economically speaking and in your calling and your vocation. So in that regard, I would say that if you are pursue your passion. That's my advice. Pursue your passion. Go for what you really love. If you can make a living of that, that's even better. And if not, well, eventually keep pursuing it. Keep pursuing growth and keep pursuing your passion. Even if you're working in something that is unrelated to what you really love, the fact that your ideal would be to make what you think, what you say, what you do coincide in one way of action. That will make you, that would be my advice. Try to look or look forward to that, or try to realize that in terms of, concretize that. I mean, to make it happen in a way. Have it in mind, set measurable goals also, and always be connected with your peers, meaning that whatever you do in life, in terms of your professional life, you need to set apart not only money, but also time to give back to your community, give back to the organizations that help you to reach the point where you are at, the organizations that help you through or throughout the years that you were studying, or your USY background, or your community, your Kehila time, or your whatever it is that you are grateful for. Give back. And those are the two things that I would, two or three things that I will stress in times of, okay, wait a minute, we are times and when you are making decisions, and those decisions have to have like certain underlining, I would say, criteria or values to abide by or to go by.
That's great. Well, thank you again for doing this. I appreciate the
My
insight
pleasure.
and the time. And keep a lookout for the video coming out soon.